When people talk about moving abroad, they usually talk about the exciting parts: the new country, the opportunities, freedom, the feeling that your life is about to change. And all of that can be true. But after living away from my home country for a while, I realized that moving abroad is not just one big, exciting decision. It becomes part of your everyday life in ways you do not even expect. It shows up when you are figuring out basic systems, missing comfort food, calculating time differences before calling family or friends back home, or trying to explain a part of your culture that people around you may not fully understand. So, today I want to talk about what moving abroad actually feels like after the first excitement settles. Hi, I'm Shreya, and welcome back to Notes with Shreya. This is episode 1, so you might not know me yet. But if you live away from home, are planning to move abroad, or just curious about what life abroad feels like, I hope you find this video helpful. On this channel, I share my reflections on life abroad, growth, and little moments from this phase of life. One of the first things I noticed after moving abroad was that simple things did not feel simple anymore. Back home, there are so many things you understand without thinking too much. You know where to go, what to ask for, how things usually work, what something should cost, who to call, what is normal and what is not. But in a new country, even basic things can come with a learning curve. I was shocked when I learned that there are no MRP on products in the US, meaning you can be charged more or less for the same product depending on the store. A simple weekly grocery run takes longer because the stores are bigger, you get more options, and many of the options are unfamiliar at first. Also, there are multiple store options such as American, Asian, and Indian, and you can't get everything on your list at a single store, so you might end up doing multiple trips. Often, it takes some time to adjust, but once you adapt, you start building a new habit and a lifestyle that is even different from your own family. Transportation, housing, banking, healthcare, paperwork, everything has its own system. None of these things are impossible, you just learn them slowly. But in the beginning, they take more energy than what people realize, and I think that is something we do not always see online. Living abroad can look very smooth from the outside, but behind the scenes, you're constantly learning how everyday life works in a new place. That does not mean you're incapable or weak. It just means you are adapting, and adapting takes energy. Another thing I learned is that independence feels different when you're 15,000 kilometers away from home. Before moving abroad, independence can sound like freedom where you make your own decisions, choose your routine, learn what kind of life you want to create. But independence abroad also means you're responsible for yourself, even on the days when you feel tired, sick, confused, or overwhelmed with zero emotional support. You have to figure out food, manage your documents, understand the rules, and ask for help when something does not make sense. And sometimes, asking for the help is the hardest part. But you learn by asking. You learn by making mistakes and doing things for the first time. And over time, things that once felt intimidating become part of your normal life. People understand that when you move abroad, you miss your family and friends. But what surprised me is that you also miss context. You miss being around people who understand your background without needing a full explanation. You miss cultural references landing naturally. You miss jokes making sense immediately. You miss festivals being part of the environment around you and not something you have to recreate on your own. You also miss food that tastes familiar in a very specific way. And sometimes you miss the ease of being understood. Because you may be doing well, you may have a good life, you may be grateful for where you are. This is hard to explain until you experience it. One part of living abroad that feels very ordinary but affects you is the time difference. It sounds small, but it changes how you stay connected. You cannot always call when you feel like calling. You have to check what time it is there. You may miss family moments because they happen while you are sleeping or working. You may receive updates after the moment has already passed. And slowly, you learn a new way of being close to people from far away. Distance changes relationships. Not always in a bad way, but it does change the rhythm. You learn who makes the effort, you learn how much effort you can give, and that love can exist across distance, but it still needs care. This has been one of the more emotional parts of living away from home for me. Something I did not expect is that moving abroad made me more aware of where I come from. When you are surrounded by your own culture, you may not reflect as it is just part of your regular life. But when you are away from it, you start noticing the small things. The way people talk at home, the way food is shared, families stay involved, the way festivals change the mood of a whole place, the way certain smells, sounds, and languages can make you feel instantly connected. You also start noticing which parts of your culture you want to carry with you and which parts you understand differently now. This is a very personal process. You do not stop belonging to where you came from, but also you do not stay exactly the same after living somewhere else. You begin to hold both worlds in your mind and heart. I think one reason moving abroad can feel confusing because the online version is often incomplete. We see the nice apartments, the peaceful outdoor walks, abundant nature, travel, best parts of grad life, and career opportunities. And as much as these are part of it, discipline and routine are even bigger parts of this new life. Reading documents carefully because one mistake can create stress. Learning how credit, rent, insurance, taxes, or visas work. Working two on campus jobs along with full time studies to be able to manage your own expenses. Cooking regularly because eating out all the time is not realistic. Trying to build a routine in a place where you are still learning what feels normal. These things do not always make aesthetic content, but they are a big part of living abroad. And honestly, I wish more people spoke about these without making it sound scary. Because moving abroad can be a great experience if you have a growth mindset. But you have to trust the process of becoming and take ownership of your life. And it is not as natural as it sounds. So, if you're planning to move abroad, there are a few things I would tell you honestly. First, prepare for the practical side, not just the emotional side. Learn about documents, money, housing, transportation, food, healthcare, and the basic systems of the country you're moving to. Second, do not judge yourself too quickly in the first few months. Feeling confused does not mean you made the wrong decision. Sometimes you are just adapting to a new environment where some days are productive while others are for recharge and reflection. Third, Stay connected to home in a way that feels realistic. You may not be able to give everyone time like before, but small, consistent efforts still count. Fourth, find small pieces of familiarity and comfort. Cook your favorite comfort food, keep a routine you had before, continue your hobbies whenever you have a chance, celebrate your festivals in whatever way you can, build the small anchors. And lastly, do not compare your personal life to someone else's public life. You never know what part of their experience they are not showing or what they are actually going through in their personal life. Moving abroad has been one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. Not because every day feels exciting, but because it has given me clarity in life and taught me how much effort goes into building life in a foreign country. It has made me more confident, independent, aware, and grateful for the things I used to take for granted. It has also taught me that you can love where you are and still miss where you originally came from. That you can be proud of yourself and still have difficult days. That you can be grateful for the opportunity and still admit that it takes 100 times work. And maybe this is the most honest way I can describe what moving abroad feels like. It is not only about leaving home, but learning how to carry home with you while making sense of a new place. To whoever needs it, I hope this video made you feel seen. And if this is the kind of calmness you enjoy, I would love for you to subscribe and stay. Thank you for spending this time with me. I will see you in the next one. Bye.